Nation married to Yah, excuse me, with your host Richard Massey. I pray that you guys are having a blessed Sabbath, and I pray that whatever you and your family are going through, that Yah gives you the strength to go through it. We're not going to too much. We're going to go straight into the reading because we have a lot to read. So today I wanted to just jump straight into Exodus. I was going to prove more that um, through the book of Genesis, there was more things to be pointed out in reference to, whether it's the feast or so on and so on. And I wanted to show how these things were already in place before Exodus, which means this is the book that Genesis is the book of the covenant. And I wanted to show that the law wasn't created yet or in place yet. So let's just start with Exodus and see when the law came into place, knowing that the covenant commandments are already in place. So let's just go to Exodus 20 and we'll read from there. Exodus 20, and we'll read from there. It says, And Yah spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy Yah, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So he's laying down the laws, right? I'm just going to read. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, which we do that with Yeshua. We make a picture of him. So that's a covenant, that's a commandment that we shouldn't do, but we do that. Some religions do that, right? Or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. And we do that. For I, Yahweh thy Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and the fourth generation of them that hate me. Right? We're going to go down to 6, 20, Exodus 20 and 6. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Okay? Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy Elohim in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. These are people who are going around in his name and taking advantage of people for their benefit. We do that, right? That is a covenant commandment. That's not a law yet. This is a covenant commandments. This is a part of the 10 commandments. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So a Sabbath is a part of the commandment covenants. Sabbath right here. It's a part of the commandment covenant, not the law yet, right? But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, which is you, your sons, which is your family, your daughter, your family, your manservant, which is your servant, your maidservant, which is your servant, thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Anybody that's under your roof is supposed to follow the same principle and not supposed to be working on the Sabbath. It's not just for you because you're the top of the household, but it's for everybody. Your animals get a break. And this is a part of commandment covenant, right? It says, For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So Yahweh he's used this principle, and that was in Genesis 1. That was where the covenant commandment first started. It says, Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee. So we're supposed to honor our mothers and our fathers, right? Commandment, covenant. We're not doing that, right? As a matter of fact, it's getting kind of worse. He says, Thou shalt not kill. Don't we do that? We're not supposed to. This is in reference to loving your neighbor. You're talking about, God was so hateful back in the day, back in the Old Testament, but Yeshua is love. Yah is love. Isn't this the indication of love, not killing your neighbor? Thou shalt not commit adultery, self-explanatory. Thou shalt not steal, self-explanatory. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, self-explanatory. These last three, commandment, covenant. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is in thy neighbor's, that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thundering and the lightning, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. They started backing off because, this mighty God was laying down these commandments / covenants. And it was a lot to take on, I can imagine. Okay. And they said unto Moshe, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let Elohim speak with us, lest we die. So you talk to him and tell us what he's saying, and let us back up a little bit. This is too much for us. Sorry about this voice early in the morning. And Moshe said unto the people, fear not, for Elohim has come to prove you. He's come to see whether he can count on you or not, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. So he wants you to see this so that you don't forget what you see, and to have you to where you're not sinning. Okay? He wants you to remember this. All right? And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen what I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep. And we start mentioning some animals that would fall under the category of clean, right? Thy sheep and thy oxen, in all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. So as long as you're doing these covenant / commandments, I'm going to bless you. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, for if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto my altar, that thy nakedness may not be discovered thereon. Now we go to Exodus 21. Okay. So I just pointed out everything that had to do with covenant, commandment, or commandment, covenant, no law yet. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, now this is talking about what we will call slavery. And this is what in reference to Laban and Jacob. I'm so sorry. This is under the umbrella of Laban and Jacob. And this is under the umbrella of some things that's going to happen later on, be more explained in Leviticus. He says, now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the seventh he shall go out free for nothing. Right? So in the seventh he shall go out. In the 7th year, his debt is paid. He's not to be kept forever. Right? He's not to be yours forever. He's paying off a debt. And in the 7th, he shall go out free for nothing. This is a part of commandment covenant. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married when you took him in, then his wife shall go out with him, right? if his master has given him a wife, like say he came to him and then he found a wife under his marriage, under his master's authority, and she had borne him sons and daughters, the wife and the children are to be the master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges, and he shall also bring him to the door and unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man shall sell his daughter and be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the manservants do. So I'm just reading everything in here and putting it under the umbrella of covenant commandment. If she please not her master who had betrothed her to himself, then he shall then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a strange nation. He shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he had betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. Under the commandment covenant, since he took her as his wife, and then he decided that he did not want her no more. Look at what 21:10 says. If he take him another wife, so he divorced his old wife. This is under the commandment covenant. Her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not be diminished. He still has to supply, even if he has a new wife. In the world, when we have an old wife, we cut her off and we attend to the new wife. And this is under the umbrella of the women of Zion. This is in the nation of Israel. What God is saying is, I love my women so much that it's not your job to abuse them. And if you take them on in marriage and you decide that you don't want them, she's not yours to throw her to the wayside and to make sure that her life is miserable. But since you have a new wife, your job is to keep on supplying her clothing, to keep on supplying her food, and it says here, her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. That's under the umbrella of covenant commandment, right? And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smite a man, he that so that he die, he shall surely be put to death. So if you hit somebody and you hurt somebody in some capacity and they die, the covenant says, the commandment says that person should be put to death. And this is under the umbrella of being something that you did on purpose. 13, and if a man lie not in wait, but Elohim deliver him to his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whether he shall flee. So if this man did it by accident, then there are 6 places of refuge that Yah has purposely placed for someone who had done something by accident, and they could run to the place of refuge and stay there and be safe. Now, so you have somebody who did something on purpose, they are to be killed, and then you have somebody who did something accidentally. They are to go to the place of refuge and to be safe there. So see how Yah has 2 different situations for almost like the same thing. Both of them was a murder. One was purposely done. One was accidental. That's under covenant commandment. And maybe some of these things are unimportant to what we're going through. And I just want to try to show you when the law came in. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from my altar that he may die. So if he did it on purpose, I want you guys to take his life. And he that smite his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. He doesn't get to go to a mental institution. He doesn't get to go before a judge. If he kills his mother and his father, he should be put to death under covenant commandment. 16, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. If you curse your father and your mother, you were supposed to be put to death. And if a man strive together, and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, but keep his bed, if you hurt him to where now he has to stay in bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. So you understand that if you hurt somebody, you're supposed to, according to how he's healing and mending back, you're supposed to financially take care of him, cover him. And all these things Yah felt necessary to have written under the commandment covenant. This is not the law yet. This is taking care of your neighbor. This is making sure you don't hurt your neighbor. So far, if you go back, and I know a lot of this could be a little boring, everything is in reference to making sure your neighbor's good. Because he said the first two is about me, of the 10 commandments. The first two is about me, and the other 8, if you keep these, you will be good. You don't really have to try to do the law. Not that he's saying that now, because the law is not here. He says, if he arise again and walk abroad upon his staff, he has a lamp, and I guess he needs a cane, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. In slavery, this never happened. So when you're using scripture to endorse and enforce slavery, this would have nullified everything. Because for every master that was slave owner that beat or killed his slave under his watch, this is showing you that they were more than human to Yah. But this is under the umbrella of the Israelite community. So this is not talking about America. Because it says, if a man smite or hit his servant or his mate with a rod, and he die under his hand, under his watch, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. So if he's okay in a day or two, he won't be punished, right? Because that servant is his money. That's the way he makes his living. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if a mischief follow, then thou shalt give for life for life. So if something happens to the baby or the woman, then it's life for life. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. You weren't supposed to beat your servants. You weren't supposed to beat the slaves. This is under Yah's watch. If this was allowed, it wouldn't have happened to this degree, I do believe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. So you hit him, his eye comes out, his tooth comes out, he's free. Okay, so you get the point how we went right into servitude and how you're supposed to treat them, and then it goes further into how you're supposed to treat the animals, right? And dealing with your property. And then we go down to Exodus 22, and it talks about, stealing and stuff, and killing and selling. All right. I'm going to skip all that. So let's go to, I'm sure there's something. Let's just go to 23. It says, "Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thy hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness." Don't lie on nobody. "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see an ass of him that he hateth, if you see his animal, but you hate the person that owns it, right? Lying under his burden, and wouldst forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help him. Even though you don't like the guy, but he needs your help. You can clearly see that. You're supposed to be helping him. So when Yah is talking about love, like people are talking about God is love, he's talking about in the neighboring sense. Helping your neighbor. And I know a lot of us don't like a lot of our neighbors. I understand that. But the reason why you don't like the person, if they were to adopt this rule, they would be different as well. But my point is to keep on going. Let's see. We at 23. We at 23. If thou meet thy enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldst forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. Thou shalt not rest with judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise. This happens every day in politics, in every aspect of life. Somebody is taking the envelope to turn their back on somebody who's supposed to get the help every single day. And pervert the words of the righteous. Thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. So since you went through that, you shouldn't allow somebody else to go through that. See, in Genesis, from Genesis 1 to Exodus 23:9 so far, it's not about you. It's about you helping somebody else. And if everybody helps somebody else, it would not be about them. It would be about somebody else. 23:10. In 6 years thou shalt sow thy land and gather in the fruits thereof. Now for 6 years, just like for 6 days, you're supposed to work on the day, you're supposed to rest. 6 years, you're supposed to sow and do your crops and your harvest. But in the seventh year, your land is supposed to get rest. And again, this is under commandment covenant. This is not the law. So it says, in 6 years thou shalt sow thy land and shall gather the fruits thereof. I mean, but the seventh year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat. So just because you're not putting any more seeds into the ground in the seventh year, it's going to continue to grow in that seventh year. But that's the Sabbath for the land. That's the year of rest for the land. And the food's going to continue to grow. And look at what Yah's intentions are. His intentions is so that the poor may eat. You get these big machines and you get everything out of the ground from the corner to the corner. And God said, let the stuff in the corner stay there so that a man can walk up or a family or somebody can walk up and get a piece of your harvest out of it. Don't try to glean the whole thing for profit. Leave the corners for the poor. That's not love. But you don't know. I'm gonna get everything that's here. It's all mine. And what they leave, the beast of the field shall eat. And what the poor leave, the beast of the field shall eat. In like manner, thou shalt deal with thy vineyard. So do that with the vineyard and do that with the olive yard. Don't pick up everything. Let some of the food that fell, let it stay there for the poor. Six days thou shalt work, shall do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest. He's bringing it up again. That thy ox and thy ass may rest. The animals again are being mentioned to rest. The land rests, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. This is under commandment covenant. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. Now listen to the 23:14, because we're still not in the law yet. He says, 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in a year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. We don't do that in Christianity. We say it's done away with because it's under the law. We're not in the law yet. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou came out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. Did he just say that you should keep the feast of unleavened bread? And we're not even in the law yet. We're under commandment covenant. 16, and the feast of harvest, the first fruit of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is the end of the year. That's the feast of Pentecost. That's the feast of what's it called? Feast of it's the feast of Pentecost, right? He says, when thou gather in thy labors, when I gather in thy labors out of the field. That's the ingathering. That's synonymous with the end time. 3 times in a year all thy males shall appear before Yahweh Elohim. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with unleavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of Yahweh thy Elohim, Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. So you see that the three feasts are included in the covenant commandment. So let's go down to, no, we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there. Because I just wanted to show, and this is the tail end. And if you want to go ahead of me and read the rest of 23 and go on to 24, you'll clearly see when the law comes into place. Because it's not for me to make you wait until next week, because we need to change your mind and get an understanding right now. So if you finish reading 23 and you go into 24, Exodus 24, you'll see a difference. And I really should go into it. I think we had 31 minutes in. So let's just read Exodus 24. Let's keep going. And he said unto Moshe, come up unto Yahweh, thou and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moshe alone shall come near Yahweh, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahweh and all the judgments. And the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh have said, we will do. And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahweh and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahweh. And Moshe took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. So you can see that it's blood ratified. It's a blood oath. Remember when we talked about pricking your finger and making a covenant with blood? So because the people say that it was okay to do it and that they accepted it, that's another thing, that people accepted it. Now 24:6 shows you that it's blood ratified. We're not even talking about the law yet. This is covenant commandment, is what they just put blood on to ratify it, to make it a closing deal between the people and Yah. We're not even mentioning the law yet. So the people said, okay, that's what they said okay to. It's blood ratified in regards to the covenant commandment. 24:7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh has said we will do and be obedient, in reference to the covenant commandment. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahweh had made with you concerning all these words. The covenant commandment, not talking about the law yet. Then went up Moshe and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw Elohim of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw Elohim and did eat and drink. Now they have a covenant meal. Now they're sealing the covenant with a covenant confirming meal. The people said, okay, now it's blood ratified. Now there's a covenant confirming meal, all based on covenant commandment, not talking about the law yet. Okay? And Yahweh said unto Moshe, come up to me in the mount and be there, and I will give thee the tables of stones and the law and the commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moshe rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moshe went up into the mountain of Elohim. And he said unto the elders, tarry here for us, till we come again unto you. Behold, Aaron and Ur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moses went up into the mount, and the cloud covered the mount. And the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Yahweh was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud and got him up into the mount, and Moshe was in the mount for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. No law yet. All covenant, all commandment, right? So I hope that this has been a blessing to you. I hope that you go back and read it, understand it a little more, and you'll see that right here is where everything was talking about the covenant commandment and not the law yet. So have a blessed Sabbath. Don't forget to like my page, subscribe to my page, and all that good stuff. It's not even important to me anymore. I just want to be able to share this. So have a blessed Sabbath and shalom. So welcome to Exodus 19, a nation married to Yah. With your host, Richard Massey. I pray that you guys are having a blessed Sabbath. And I pray that whatever you